Live from our hurricane headquarters with real-time analysis from some of the nation's top meteorologists, this is Tracking the Tropics.
Kicking off the 2020 hurricane season with a look at Invest 93L over the Yucatan Peninsula with an updated forecast coming in moments ago, putting it at a 90% chance of development. The big question is, where will it head? We are live in our hurricane headquarters in Tampa, Florida with the update here live on Tracking the Tropics. Hey there, everybody. Biunno here with you live on Tracking the Tropics. On the center of your screen, friend of the program and a award-winning meteorologist at WRIC in Richmond. We'll be hearing from him momentarily. That's Matt DiNardo, again, at WRIC. But we're going to begin here on the right side of your screen with meteorologist Amanda Holly tracking Invest 93L over the Yucatan Peninsula. Hey there, Amanda.
Hey there, JB, and hey there, everybody, as well. Thanks for joining us this afternoon on the first day of hurricane season. Just like that, we're tracking a storm here, and this is funny because it's actually remnants of an old tropical storm that formed in the Pacific on Sunday. It was Tropical Storm Amanda. It made landfall in Guatemala shortly after forming. Kind of got torn apart, though, because this is very mountainous terrain in Central America. So the remnants of that storm is now having a potential of developing as it makes its way into the Bay of Campeche next to the Yucatan Peninsula here. Again, we're in the southern Gulf of Mexico, and the showers and thunderstorms currently located over the Yucatan Peninsula, but slowly migrating toward the Bay of Campeche. And you can see there over the next couple of days and over the next 5 days, the National Hurricane Center now giving this a 90% chance of developing. So development is likely here, but like JB said, where is it going to go? Well, right now it's just meandering. It's really not doing a whole lot. It's actually part of a larger circulation here, a larger, very broad area of low pressure called the Central American Gyre. And you may have seen that in social media over the past couple of days. That term has been kind of circulating here, but this is the area of moisture that has a chance of developing. The rest of this is just going to continue to produce showers and thunderstorms over Central America. But these are the spaghetti models for the tropical wave Invest 93L that has a good chance of developing. Over the next few days, it's really not going to move a whole lot. Most of the models keep it centered right here in the southern Bay of Campeche, the very southern portions of the Gulf of Mexico here. After that, notice the timing here. This is Thursday, still pretty much located in the same area. After that, most of our larger, longer range models take it into the portions of the Gulf of Mexico, take it north into Gulf of Mexico, and maybe have it making landfall somewhere in the northwestern portions of the Gulf of Mexico as a very weak area of low pressure, whether it's named or not. A lot of that moisture is still going to be heading north regardless. This is what radar could look like here over the coming days. But again, we're talking a week out for any maybe potential impacts to the United States. So a lot of moisture falling and producing landslides, mudslides in Central America with all of this moisture hanging out. But after that, we're going to move into next weekend and into early next week. There is a good chunk of moisture that kind of breaks off and heads towards the Gulf of Mexico states here. And that includes portions of Florida getting rain. That includes portions of the southern Gulf Coast and Texas getting rain from an area of low pressure making its way north. Whether it develops or not, we will be tracking it, of course. Now, if it develops into an organized system here, an organized area of low pressure with those sustained winds at 39 miles per hour, we'll get a tropical storm. And yes, it would be renamed into the C name for the Atlantic names. We've already had 2 storms form in May. This would be the C named storm, and it would be named Cristobal. Funny enough, also, if it forms before Friday, we could be talking about the earliest third named storm of an Atlantic season since we started naming storms. So a lot going on here with the first day of hurricane season. Again, already 2 named storms from 2020 to date. We had Arthur and we had Bertha. Arthur kind of brushed the outer banks of North Carolina. Matt DiNardo is going to talk about that a little bit here. He got some rain from that system. Bertha made landfall along the South Carolina coastline and then quickly dissipated there. But now we could be looking at our third named storm of the 2020 season. Right now, it is an Invest 93L, and if you're just joining us, it has a 90% chance of developing over the next 5 days in the southern Gulf of Mexico. It's very early to tell where it will go, but right now everyone should just be kind of paying attention as we head into the next week or so to see what that area of low pressure will do. JB?
Meteorologist Amanda Holly here at WFLA in Tampa, our hurricane headquarters. Let's get now to our featured meteorologist today, everybody. Award-winning meteorologist and very good friend of the program, Matt DiNardo, joining us from WRIC. Hey there, Matt. We're going to talk about hurricane season here, 2020. Hey, listen, Matt, for those people, watching at home when we're talking about how 2020 has gone thus far, we want a really quiet hurricane season. I'm sure up there in Virginia, you want quiet for hurricane season 2020. We want it quiet with what we're currently experiencing with the pandemic, protests across the country. A quiet 2020 would be great. But we are already looking at perhaps the third named storm of the season if 93L actually does get a name. Your thoughts on what Amanda was just talking about with 93L?
I tell you what, JB,
Matt, do you have us?
I tell you what, JB, this is going to be a really, really active season. You looked at those numbers there, and the National Hurricane Center and Colorado State, both putting, mid-teens for total storms, I should say, not hurricanes, total storms out there. 16 from Colorado State, 13 to 19 for the National Hurricane Center, and then as far as hurricanes go, Colorado State goes for 8, and then the National Hurricane Center goes for 6 to 10. And they're saying, we could have at least 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 major hurricanes, which of course is, 115 miles per hour or, what we call Category 3. I mean, just incredible stuff when you look at these numbers. Like I just said, we're seeing the maps here. We're looking at potentially in the next 2 days to 5 days, this storm, which could be Cristobal, and this is unbelievable. Before hurricane season begins, let's say, right today officially begins, so 2 already, 1 in the first couple of days, and as Amanda said, that's record setting, and it's just really, really scary when you think about it, because of course, boy, I remember being down there with you all Labor Day weekend last year for probably the most memorable hurricane of our lifetime, right, in terms of Dorian and, the damage it did in the Bahamas, and we still talk about that even today.
The strength, the stopping of that storm, a lot of memorable parts of that storm. But yeah, we've already knocked 2 named storms off the list, Matt, and luckily we're early in the season here, so they weren't that strong. But heading into Labor Day, portions of August and September, that's when we talk about those really strong storms potentially.
Now, how much we really see these numbers come to life as far as being accurate? We actually had an interview earlier on today. Matt, we're going to get back to you here in just a second, but really quickly, meteorologist Amanda Holly here on the right side of your screen, everyone, interviewed the director of the National Hurricane Center earlier today, asking him specifically about these projections and whether or not before hurricane season even begins, how accurate they really are.
How accurate have the National Hurricane Center's preseason forecast been in previous years?
Yeah, they're accurate, and that's why if you think about it, there's enough range. You notice how we do that at NOAA. There's a range there, and the reason is because you get a plus or minus. The further you go out, the better the chance for error. So what this is? It really is a tool to say greater than average type of season. We got to get ready. If there's one storm on Earth, if it impacts you, then it's a busy season. So this is just another tool to start really looking at our planning and look for the season. And there's a good degree of accuracy, but the other part of it is just realize it's not a prediction for that landfall. Getting ready, being prepared, that's everything when it comes to hurricanes.
So, Matt, he talked about, if that one storm impacts you, it could be a busy season. Well, you've already seen impacts from the 2 storms this season. So talk about that and how you guys are preparing and, up there along the mid-Atlantic states.
It's unbelievable, right? So Arthur formed about a week and a half ago and, kind of moved up right over the edge of the Outer Banks and brought us some rain here into central Virginia, but there was tropical storm force winds, there were coastal flooding, there was, the gambit of what hurricanes bring in terms of rainfall and flooding and all that as well. But again, just keep in mind that was a minimal storm compared to a true hurricane. And then Bertha last week formed right on the coastline of Charleston, South Carolina, and then moved inland and then brought us some rain from that as well. So it was already two brushes, if you will, and so it really puts us on edge, especially for coastal areas from Virginia Beach through the Outer Banks, which is a lot of the area that we cover here. And if you get the right motion, something that comes into Charleston, or if you're just kind of driving around the Bermuda High, which tends to set up in August, sometimes that could slide right across the Outer Banks into northeastern North Carolina and then up into central Virginia, a very similar path to 2003, which was Isabel for us, which was very damaging. We just came out of one of the wettest seasons ever, and so we had numerous trees. They didn't snap, they toppled. So that's what always our concern is, that path. You guys are this peninsula that sits out there and, comes right across, and we've seen that time and time again. But, there's a lot of impacts, coastal southeast and coastal sections of the Gulf, too, where we're looking at this possibly going, as you showed in the models there. Of course, they're all over the place, but, you'd look at anywhere from coastal Texas to coastal Louisiana, Amanda, that may be impacted if this does develop, which obviously looks very likely.
Right, it looks likely at this time, but it looks rather weak, which is good news.
Everybody, meteorologist Amanda Holly, meteorologist Matt DiNardo. I'm JB Biunno here with you live on Tracking the Tropics in our hurricane headquarters. You just heard from Ken Graham, the director of the NHC, the National Hurricane Center in Miami. If you want to listen to Amanda's entire interview, we have that for you right now on WFLA.com and the WFLA app. Some people here asking in the comment section, we're monitoring the comment section across our social media platforms. 93L, we're keeping an eye on that. Anything else that we need to be keeping an eye on, Amanda, with 93L is enough to be kicking off hurricane season, but are there any other systems we're monitoring at this time?
So right now, that is kind of the only system on our radar, if you will. I have right now the map up, the areas we typically watch in June, and this is exactly where Invest 93L could be developing in the southern portion of the Gulf of Mexico there next to the Yucatan Peninsula. And those arrows that you see, those are the typical paths that these storms take. And that's exactly what we would be looking at with Invest 93L as well. And like I said earlier, a potentially very weak system at this point.
Matt DiNardo joining us from WRIC in Richmond, Virginia. Hey, Matt, real quick, we're going to throw you on the spot here. What's going on at WRIC as far as getting ready for the 2020 hurricane season? What do you want people in Richmond, the people in Virginia, and your television market, what do you want them to know as you're getting ready?
Hey, I think people just, no matter what, we just like everybody does, you put out the areas to watch. We're looking at this, and we always notify what storms look potential to develop. Pay attention to that. Always understand that, once we get into hurricane season, true tropical season, we put the cones out at play. We always show that center line, but there's always that jog, especially as you get into that 3th, 4th, 5th day out where there can be some fluctuations. Remember, hurricanes can kind of slow down, speed up. They can do some things that really cause the forecast to become a little quirky at times, and therefore, it slowed down, it turned left, it turned right, that kind of a thing. So you got to look at everything and always stay on top of latest forecast. And our coastal residents from the Chesapeake Bay all the way through Virginia Beach and the Outer Banks, the big concern is always going to be coastal flooding, coastal beach erosion, and obviously you're against the water, so the winds are going to be highs there.
Same question for you here, meteorologist Amanda Holly. What do you want folks to know here in the state of Florida? Of course, we're here in Tampa Bay on the Gulf Coast side of Florida. What do you want folks to know as it's June 1st, 2020, kick off the 2020 hurricane season?
Well, the official forecast from the NOAA, from the National Hurricane Center, and from Colorado State University, they are predicting a busy season, and for good reason. We've talked about these ingredients that you need for tropical systems to form, and we've got a lot of those going on this year. So we are looking at an above-average season in terms of the numbers, but remember, that doesn't tell you where these storms are going to go. Like Matt said, he's already been impacted by those two weaker tropical storms, but we didn't get impacts from that here in the Tampa Bay area, really, or the state of Florida. So going forward, we could be impacted, and now's the time to prepare. Just think about it. We've got, impacts from coronavirus as well. You want to be thinking about how your plans may change because of that going into the 2020 season. Do you need, more evacuation preparations? Do you need to think about multiple areas where you could go, and think about the things that are in your kit. Start preparing now, and the rest of the season will be a lot less stressful.
And I'm JB Biunno here, everybody, with you in our hurricane headquarters. What is Tracking the Tropics? How about we actually answer that question for people, because some people wonder what we do here and what the mission statement is. Well, the mission statement is very simple. We are here to inform you with the latest models, the latest data, and the expertise of meteorologists joining us from across the country, such as Matt here in the center of your screen, Amanda here in our hurricane headquarters in Tampa. We're also here to educate you on hurricane preparedness, making sure that you're ready before a storm knocks on your door, and then most of all, just keeping you safe. If we can keep you informed and keep you educated, we're keeping you and your family safe. And really exciting for this year, everybody, we are now across 2 stations, WNCN in Raleigh, WFLA in Tampa, teaming up for Tracking the Tropics, bringing in meteorologists from across the country, everybody. Some of the best, some of the brightest, some of the most experienced who have been in the thick of these storms in the past. They're going to be bringing you the very latest over the course of the next 6 months. Hurricane season 2020, we will be here with you live every step of the way with multiple weekly streams as we keep an eye on the tropics and, again, keep you informed, educated, and safe this 2020 hurricane season. That does it for us here on Tracking the Tropics, everybody. For meteorologist at WFLA, Amanda Holly here on the right side of your screen, and WRIC's Matt DiNardo, friend of the program and an award-winning meteorologist in Richmond, Virginia. I'm JB Biunno here with you in our hurricane headquarters in Tampa. Thanks so much for being with us. Wherever you're watching from, keep an eye on 93L in the days and weeks ahead, and we'll be back with additional streams here this week on Tracking the Tropics. We'll see you soon, everybody.
Thank you for watching Tracking the Tropics.